A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Each year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. And when Jesus was 12 years old, they went up according to festival custom. After they had completed its days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but the parents did not know it. Thinking that Jesus was in the caravan, they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances. But not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found Jesus in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. When Jesus' parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." And Jesus said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But his parents did not understand what he said to them. Jesus went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all these things in her heart. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. After God, I owe all to my mother. She was so good. Virtue passes readily from the heart of a mother into that of her children. As a priest, I have often pondered these words spoken by St. John Vianney, the Curé of Ars, the model and the patron saint of parish priests. My mother bore me in the womb and defended my life from the first moment of conception. That was especially significant for me. In 1951, my mother was 7 months pregnant with me in her womb when she accidentally fell down a flight of stairs and began to hemorrhage very badly. My mother's doctors, fearing that she might die, counseled both my mother and father to abort the birth. On the day of my ordination to the priesthood, my parents recounted that event to me for the first time, and the answer they gave the doctors: "If God has willed this child, then surely he has a marvelous plan." Long before I was taught the catechism, my mother taught me my first prayers. Even without words, she trained me as I watched her receive Jesus and the Holy Eucharist and return from the altar rails with reverence and gratitude. When my father, a captain in the Navy, was deployed to the Far East for 6 months, my 7 siblings and I would kneel with her every Sunday evening before the icon of our Mother of Perpetual Help and pray the rosary for his safe return. As a child growing up, I knew that the way to my father's heart was through my mother, for he would not refuse her anything. Karol Joseph Wojtyła was just 1 month short of his 9th birthday when he lost his mother, Amelia. She was 45 when kidney and heart problems led her to her death in 1929. Later in life, he admits that his mother's contribution to his vocation must have been great. In her absence, Karol turned to Mary to be his mother. From the shaping of Marian devotion in his early childhood to his final hours of Pope John Paul II, when an image of the suffering Christ and a painting of the Blessed Mother hung near his bed in the papal apartment, And even in death, when a cross and the solitary letter M adorned his casket, the Blessed Mother never left St. John Paul II. This maternal relationship was at the heart of John Paul's priestly vocation. Years later, as Pope, he would write, "On Calvary, Jesus entrusted a new motherhood to Mary when he said to her, 'Woman, behold your son.'" We cannot overlook the fact that when this motherhood was proclaimed, it was in regard to a priest, the beloved disciple. Jesus' gaze, St. John Paul writes, extended beyond the beloved disciple to the long series of his priests in every age until the end of the world. At the same time, Jesus also said to John, "Behold your mother." To the beloved disciple and priest apostle, he entrusted the task of caring for Mary as his own mother, of loving her, venerating her, and protecting her. These words, the Pope writes, are the origin of Marian devotion. The fact that they were addressed to a priest is significant. Can we not then draw the conclusion that the priest is charged with promoting and developing this devotion to Mary, and that he is the one primarily responsible for doing that? For many years after Vatican II, I think many priests, including myself, viewed devotion to Mary as something optional. While we maintained a quiet devotion to her, we presumed it was largely a private affair, like having devotion to a particular patron saint. But at some point, I realized I was mistaken. A Marian spirituality is not an option. It is not just a private devotion. Rather, God wills this woman to be an integral part of our Christian spiritual lives. And why do I say this? Well, the life of any priest is very challenging, and the hours can be long, and sometimes the material rewards are slight, and the road ahead can look very long and at times barren. I think every priest needs some tenderness in their lives, some appropriate maternal consolation, and some chaste feminine warmth. We can find some feminine connection with the woman who cross our daily paths, including family members and friends. But with Mary, there is a real feminine intimacy offered directly to priests, and a path to a kind of divine intimacy as well. I believe a faithful priestly life without Mary is possible, but that priest and his priesthood will be more difficult, and it will be more barren. And really, it's not in full conformity with God's design spoken to us through the Word. What St. Gian Vianney said of his earthly mother, I can truly say of Mary today. After God, I owe my vocation to Mary. She has been so good.